There was a stamping machine that was slowing down every afternoon from 1 o'clock till about 3. And they were going crazy, looking through the PLC program, trying to figure out how in the world does it know when it's 1 o'clock? There was a woman in the production office that does reports in the afternoon. On the other computer, she put a Netflix movie on. So the movie was being streamed through the stamping machine because of the way the architecture was. And so it slowed down the whole machine.
Netflix definitely didn't just chill. This is the chaos you inherit when you're the engineer on call. Welcome to Manufacturing Runs the World. I'm Justin, and today we're going deep into how networks break, why most factories are held together with duct tape and prayers, and why that's actually a job opportunity.
I started real-time automation back in the 1980s. I wanted to make digital toys. Furbies are kind of the thing I was really interested in working on. So while I was doing that, I got a call from Allen Bradley, and they said, "Hey, do you want to do some PLC communications to an old thing called the RB module?" And I said, "Well, I want to be in the toy business, but I can do you a favor and do one of those." And sales guy called me up 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, I heard you did that thing. Can you do this thing for my customer?" And I said, "Well, I'm really not in this business, but okay." And the freaking phone just kept ringing, so It wasn't like, come up with a business plan and an idea. I was kind of dragged into it. And then we have 27 people. We have a 15,000 square foot building. We've been working exclusively on networking communications. One of the interesting things about all of these communication protocols you find on the factory floor, and we've done them all, Modbus, TCP, and Profinet, and Modbus, and BACnet, but nobody knows how to architect a manufacturing system. The difference between IT and manufacturing and production control networks, one of the things is we have different goals, even though we're using the same technology, using it in different ways. The IT people are there to protect the corporation. Our job is to make product, is to get product out the door as fast as possible and continuously at the lowest price.
Right.
Means no downtime.
One side's worried about email viruses. The other is trying to stop a $600,000 press break from going offline because someone yanked a cable. Same Ethernet, totally different stress levels.
A production control network, the stuff is out, the switches, the controllers, and the devices are an integrated whole. You can't separate them. And in IT systems, there's just a bunch of servers and switches. And the end nodes, the PCs can come and go, and they don't care. That's just not part of their system. I mean, all of those kinds of applications. It's really cool when it works. The big problem is who's going to maintain this system. I mean, you need more sophistication than the control engineers have. And right now, we're in the same situation as everybody else is. The labor is going way down. We don't have the labor. I mean, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are all hiring away control engineers, for 2 and 3 times the salary that they're getting now. If you're a small manufacturer, that has maybe 1 or 2 plants, can you maintain the sophistication to build that kind of system with all of those that are so intricately connected between your IT servers all the way out to your IO devices? Who's gonna fix that when it doesn't work? And we know it's not going to work. Eventually, something's going to go wrong. Yeah. Could be just what I said before. There's a cable failure.
Right.
In our industry, 97% of manufacturers have less than 200 people. Most of the manufacturing is done by pretty much mom and pops. And all this stuff just talks to each other and it all works. Who do you go to when something's not working? And you're one of this mom and pop plant. You're the control engineer. Your plant is down. You've got 6 different systems from all different people. Something you don't know what is not working. Now you have to go hire a system integrator to come in and try to figure it all out.
Turns out it's hard to run a smart factory when your smartest person is now at AWS making robots for grocery warehouses. And if your plant runs on tribal knowledge and 3 spreadsheets called final_final2 XLS, you're in trouble.
When I was at Lipton Tea, their tea machine was built in 1919.
Wow.
Has the process of making tea changed in the last 3,000 years? Leaves go in that end and bags come out, powder comes out this end. So for them to upgrade the control system on that machine, I mean, what's the ROI? Are
Right.
you, maybe you
Yeah.
get tea a little faster, and maybe there's, I don't know, it's really hard to find some ROI so that, a lot, and that's true of so many companies. They just run stuff forever. When I was at Pfizer told me that we've been putting in new machines every year for the last 30 years, and every one of them has different networking stuff. Like a lot of these companies, they don't know what's on their network because you install the network, and then you move some machines around, so you change some things, you add a switch, you move some different stuff over here, you add some other devices, and nobody goes and documents that stuff,
Right. Yeah.
right? They have an intern that comes in the summertime and spends it all summer trying to figure out what all the IP addresses are and what everything is, and
Yeah.
it puts a document that goes in the drawer and it's out of date, in 2 weeks,
Right.
and so nobody knows how everything's connected.
Modern automation meet 100-year-old steampunk teabagger. And that's the job. Figuring out how to make a 21st century robot play nice with a machine that predates sliced bread.
This company is called IntraView that we started. IntraView is an old product that we're refreshing, and what it does is does a topology screen to figure out what are all the nodes on the manufacturing network and what's starting to fail, which is it's pretty cool. There's a guy at a huge tire company, and he said every month we have to report to management about how well our control networks are working. And he said, I don't have any data. One of the interesting things about Ethernet is that it works while it's sick. You can have something that's working at 10 meg and you think everything is supposed to be working at 1 gig,
Right.
and it's working at 10 meg because the auto negotiation failed. Or you can have a cable that's starting to fail because it's been past its turn radius and
Uh-huh.
it's starting to fail. But all the time while this is going on, network's running, but you don't know it's sick, and it's
Right.
gonna and the heart attack is coming. So
Uh-huh.
what we do is try to diagnose that the network is sick, and before the heart attack comes, so that you can take control and be proactive, and make some changes before you go on. So
If your documentation is just a PDF from 2017 in a folder called Do Not Touch, congratulations. You're the expert now.
yeah, well, here's a really good one. Talk to a guy at Naked Juice. It's I think it's a Coke Pepsi company.
Yeah.
The guy says, I got 17 drives. What I really want to know is, do they all have the same firmware level? I don't know. He says, I don't know. He said, we put them in at different times. We replaced a drive now and then. So do I have, and I really like to have the same firmware level across the whole, but I don't have time to sit and connect to 17 drives, and then okay, then we replace one. Now I got to go find my list and update, but maintain that list manually.
Yeah.
One of the things that the product I have can do is to go off and pull that asset list, find all the devices, pull all their firmware levels. It's always hard to figure out who is managing those systems. What it comes down to is who gets the phone call when something's not working.
This is the part of engineering that nobody glamorizes until it all goes down. Subscribe for more real stories from factories powering your life. And hey, don't stream Netflix through the control system.